Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to show you how to make this high chair. Now of course you can paint it and everything and do what you want with it. The tray actually comes off and the baby comes out. Now this baby is a little bit smaller than to scale, but I got her at Michael's and it was like a whole pack of little babies. So she's a little smaller than what a scale would be. So a scale baby would fit in here pretty good. All right, so the very first step you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to get all of your wood and cut it. And this is the template. Now I will end up putting this on my website eventually, but until I get to it, go ahead and pause it for a second and write down all of these measurements so that you have them. All right, now for the seat back, which is back here, and then the front part of the seat here, and then down here, you're going to need to get some toothpicks, just ordinary toothpicks that you would use for, you know, picking your teeth with. All right, and then you want to go ahead and cut the point of them off, and then you're going to make little dowels that look like this. Now, if they sell little dowels like this where you are, then you can just buy those instead of toothpicks. But toothpicks are cheaper here. So that's what we did. Then once you have all of your parts cut, you want to go ahead and start putting it together.
That and the back.
Okay, so this is the actual seat, and then this is the back of the seat. If you notice, there's little tiny holes in there. And Dad's going to show you what we did to get that effect. The very first thing he did, he took a nail.
Yeah, and put a mark where you're going to put it first. So I already did here. Take the point of a nail, just stick it there. Wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Then you can get one of these small drill bits that they sell at the Harbor Freight. It's like 6 or 7 of them in a pack for about $1.50 or $2. And I just put it in there and turned it to make the hole. Or you can put it in your drill and just drill it deep enough to make a little hole in there. Now what I did with the dowels, the reason I did that is on the back of the chair I took the toothpick and I just put it in the drill, and while it was in the drill, I'll show you real quick. A long way. While it's in the drill, I just took it on a piece of sandpaper. You can put it on a sanding block, and back and forth like that. I just made a little point there, and that makes it glued. When you put it together, it's really, really strong. Doing it that way. They go in there, put the little glue on it, and it goes in there just like that, and it'll stay in there pretty good. And I did the same thing with the back of it, the back of the chair. Put little holes in there, and it fits up in there perfect.
Okay, so now you want to go ahead and get yourself some Loctite super glue, which looks like this. They have little bottles, and if you get the little bottles with the little blue squeezy sides or the red with the squeezy sides, be sure to look up the crazy glue tips that I have on the build tips, because there's a way to get more glue out of that bottle, and we'll show you in that video. All right, so now that you know how to make your holes in your seat base and all, and you have all your wood cut, we're using bass wood. You can use balsa wood if that's easier for you to cut with. However, balsa wood is not as sturdy as bass wood is. So it's a little bit more flimsy and it breaks very easily. Okay, so this is a piece that broke off of the balsa wood, and you can see how it's very, very flimsy. Like I can squeeze that. Hopefully you can see that, because it just kind of like went blurry on you. I mean, you can just squeeze it with your fingers. That's how soft it is. So, but on the plus side, you can do it a lot easier. Like, see that? It's super, super soft. which means that if you don't have the ability to cut things and you don't plan on having kids with it, playing with it, then you can just do that and it'll come right apart. It cuts really, really easy. And I'm not really putting pressure on this. And I'm just using one hand. So that's how like soft the wood is. But basswood is not like that. Okay? So go ahead and get your wood cut. And the very first step is...
We'll cut the legs to 2 1/8 inch or 2 3/16 inch. But 2 1/8 is a better size. You want to make them a little bit shorter still.
Depending on your table height.
Yeah. Then I'm going to mark up on the bottom. We'll come up 1 1/16 of an inch. And that's going to be the distance from the floor to the first rung in the front. You can do it the same thing in the back. The side you could make a little difference so you don't have them all lined up with one another. The side we just came up 1 inch. Well, actually it's about 15/16, but you can just make it 7/8. So we'll mark up 7/8 of an inch for simplicity. So marked up. First thing I did was put 2 marks on each leg. Come up 7/8 of an inch and 1 1/16 on each of the legs. Now that you got that, that's where your rungs are going to go. Also got a piece 9/16 that I'm using as a spacer at the top because you want to glue them on a little bit of an angle. As you'll see in this how they're a little bit of an angle. Yeah. The wide one goes in the bottom mark. Make sure I have the right length here. I might have the wrong one. That's the side piece. This is the first rung on the bottom mark. That's just right there. All right, you have 2 marks on there. The small peg goes on the top mark. The bottom mark will be for your side peg, your side rung. And we'll put glue on that.
Okay, so go ahead and add your glue to that and then remove your spacer once it dries. Okay, so once you have them done and they're dry, you can remove your spacer because this is not part of what you're going to be using. Let it dry and everything. And another thing, if you don't follow us and this is the first time you're watching our video, I just want to explain what this here is. This is masking tape, and what we do is we put it facing up and then we tape it down so it doesn't move. That actually helps hold that in place until it dries, and then when you have it dry, you pull it completely off and it'll come off of there. And if for some reason your glue did stick to it, it's really easy to sand off, so it's not an issue. So facing up where the sticky side is here, and then tape it down. Like, see how this is taped here, and it's also taped underneath of here because I extended it longer so we could do both at the same time. All right. So
one thing you want to make sure that if they can do it ahead of time, make sure that they're not this way or that way. So draw a line this way and a line this way so you get them to the same height, and then bring it in the distance of the spacer, which was 9/16. That way it's not one leg longer than the other when you put it together, because it'll look that way.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and get your footrest, which is this little piece here that the baby's feet would normally sit on. And you want to go ahead and glue them together in an L shape. And then have the wider piece on the back glue the smaller piece on top. And again, we're using the Loctite Crazy Glue still. It should look like that. Okay, now for the seat part, these pieces here are angled. You can just kind of cut them that way, or you can sand them that way. And then you want to notch out the top corner right here and then drill that hole with the nail and the little drill again, the same way that we did the seat pieces.
All right, I've got 5 pegs or spindles, and I'm going to put them on there, put a little dab of glue inside of each hole. It only takes a little dab. You take those 5 spindles and stick them in there.
All right, now you want to take the top piece and you want to do the same thing and apply some glue to the top where the holes are. It's very important to have these holes in the same place as the holes that are in the seat so that your backrest becomes straight and not wonky.
Yeah. They're spread out a little further, but that's so you got room and you have a little angle for this.
Like you don't want them to go left and right. You want them to all gonna be even, like how that is. See how they're all evenly spaced? That's what I'm talking about.
If you can help me there.
Okay, so what we did is we ended up using 2 pieces of masking tape, one on the front and one on the back, to help hold that until it dries. Once it dries, you'll remove that very carefully. If you don't have masking tape, you can use painter's tape. Alright, so your next step is to drill that hole right there in the armrest, and then you're going to take your 9/16 peg and you're going to put that into that hole. Make sure you're drilling it on the underside.
And again, you just put a little dab of crazy glue on there to hold it to it.
Now make sure you get the glue that's good for wood and metal. Okay, now for the tray, you want to go ahead and glue the small pieces on it on the underside just like this. Now those are just very, very thin pieces of wood. You can use a coffee stir or a popsicle stick and just cut them to fit there.
And you can put them on after you put the arms on because they rest up against here to stay in the center.
Right. And then if you want to make your tray like this, then you want to get some super thin balsa wood or something that you can cut to fit in there and just glue that on top. Or you can just leave it flat like that. Okay, so for the next step, you want to take your 2 legs and you want to go ahead and glue your footrest right on the top of one side, but leave it down just a tiny bit.
What we did now is for these things to fit in there and anchor down nice and tight, we put the groove then on the back. We'll glue that there, and I put a little hole, same as I did on this, right there. Put some glue in there and glue that armrest right on there like that on both sides.
Okay, so once you have those glued on there, take a piece of masking tape and wrap it around the back of it to help hold it in place. And then if you notice, they curve inward, and that is what's going to keep the tray from sliding off once you put this piece on the back of it. It won't go any further than that unless you lift it up, because it will stop.
That one's hard already.
Okay, again, this is the direction, or the sizes and measurements and all on the template. It will be posted eventually on my website. I will try to do it as soon as I have time, but I do try to do them in bulk so that I can just get a bunch done at once. Alright, so now the next step is to do the legs. Okay, so when you put them on top of each other, they should match, like side to side. Now I'm leaving the masking tape on there because I don't want the legs to be flimsy or fall apart before they're completely cured. Even though it says it dries in 60 seconds, it never really dries in 60 seconds. It dries in 60 seconds if you do a thin layer, but with this project, we're not doing a thin layer. We're doing a lot because we want it, not a whole lot, but we want it to actually hold. Okay, so now what you do is drill some holes in the bottom. Don't go all the way through though. And glue the legs in place. Make sure you set your chair onto a block that it'll fit on so that you're not having it all wonky.
I just put 2 little dents in there with the drill and put the glue on it and set that in there.
All right, now you want to angle them out just a little bit, and then you want to put your little cross piece right in here and glue it. Use some masking tape to help hold it in place once you glue it.
Yeah.
And of course you want to let it all dry before you try to move it, because as you can see that wasn't dry and it fell. All right, now to do the tray, you want to put it in the center directly, and then you want to mark underneath of it.
Yeah, just mark it anywhere underneath it there where you can put 2 stops. What that does is, so when your tray is on there, it'll be in the center instead of over this way or sideways, and you'll have it in the center. So you put it up there and you mark it with a pencil on each side. Then we'll take 2 little blocks and glue on the underside of it so the tray won't move once we get it on there.
And of course you can make them skinnier like we did with this one.
Well, I got some scrap stuff here.
So that's all you have to do, and then that's, you know, what your chair will look like when it's done. Now this one's still drying, and you just have to put those cross pieces in exactly the same way we did the front pieces, and then put a piece of tape to hold it. But hopefully this was helpful, and please like and subscribe. Leave a question, suggestion, or comment below, and click that bell so that you can get notified if you want to see more. All right, please share, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Click a bell.